Let us begin in the quiet dark of the bedroom at the hour when the defenses of the day have fallen away. It is 2:00 a.m., or perhaps 3:00 a.m. The world outside is asleep. The distractions of work, the noise of Netflix, and the dopamine hits of social media have finally ceased. And in that silence, a familiar face appears in the theater of our mind. It is the face of someone who hurt us. Maybe it is a parent who failed to love us the way we needed, leaving a void that we are still trying to fill. Maybe it is a partner who looked us in the eye and promised forever only to betray us. Maybe it is a boss who humiliated us, a friend who ghosted us, or even a stranger who committed an injustice against us. We see their face and instantly a chemical reaction occurs. It is automatic. It is visceral. Our stomach tightens into a knot. Our jaw clenches until our teeth ache. The heat of anger, old stale familiar anger, rises in our chest like bile. We start to replay the argument. We rewrite the script. We come up with the perfect comeback we should have said 5 years ago. We visualize them suffering. We put them on trial in the high court of our imagination, and we act as the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury. We present the evidence of their cruelty. We convict them. We punish them. And for a fleeting moment, we feel a strange, twisted satisfaction. We feel powerful. We feel righteous. But here is the terrifying question we must ask ourselves in the cold light of day. Who is actually suffering in this moment? Is the person who hurt us suffering? Are they waking up with a knot in their stomach right now? Are they unable to enjoy their morning coffee because of what they did to us 10 years ago? Likely not. They are probably sleeping soundly. They are probably living their lives laughing, eating, and dreaming, completely unaware of the courtroom drama playing out in our heads. They are out dancing while we are drinking poison. No, we are the ones suffering. We are the ones carrying the backpack filled with hot coals, burning our own backs, thinking that somehow if we hold on to the coals tight enough we can throw them at the enemy. But we never throw them. We just burn. We live in a culture that has a complicated, almost pathological relationship with forgiveness. In America, we are obsessed with justice. We love a revenge story. We love John Wick. We love Kill Bill. We love the idea of karma coming back to bite someone. We believe in accountability. We believe in cancel culture, the idea that if someone makes a mistake, they should be erased. We believe that if someone does something wrong, they must pay a debt. And so when we hear the word forgiveness, our internal defense system screams no. Our ego says, if I forgive them, I am letting them off the hook. If I forgive them, I am saying that what they did was okay. If I forgive them, I am weak. I am a doormat. I am betraying myself. We equate forgiveness with weakness. We equate anger with strength. We think our grudge is a shield that protects us from being hurt again. We wear our resentment like armor, not realizing that the armor is crushing us. But I am here to offer you a different definition, a radical definition, a definition that might just save your life. Forgiveness is not about them. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is not a moral favor you do for someone else. It is not an act of sainthood. It is an act of radical self-preservation. It is the ultimate act of selfishness in the holiest sense of the word. It is the decision that you value your own peace more than you value your need to be right. It is the decision to evict a squatter who has been living rent-free in your head. For a decade, eating your food and trashing your furniture. Let's look at the biology of resentment. We need to understand what is happening to our bodies when we refuse to let go. When we hold a grudge, our body is locked in a chronic state of fight or flight. We are flooding our system with cortisol and adrenaline. We are keeping our blood pressure high. We are suppressing our immune system. We are creating inflammation in our joints and tissues. We are literally aging ourselves faster. We are making ourselves sick with the memory of the past. The body does not know the difference between a tiger attacking you right now and a memory of a betrayal from 10 years ago. It reacts the same way. It pumps the same chemicals. By refusing to forgive, we are trapping ourselves in a time loop of trauma. We are forcing ourselves to relive the injury every single day. Ask yourself, is the satisfaction of being right worth the price of your health? Is holding on to the story of your victimization worth the price of your vitality? Is it worth a heart attack? Is it worth an ulcer? The cost is too high. We are often stuck because we are waiting for an apology. This is the great trap. We tell ourselves, I will forgive them when they admit what they did. I will forgive them when they take accountability. I will forgive them when they change. We are waiting for closure. But listen to me closely, closure is a myth. The person who broke you cannot heal you. They are not reading the same script as you. In their movie, they might not be the villain. They might be the victim, or they might just be oblivious. They might be a narcissist who is incapable of empathy. They might be dead. If you are waiting for them to apologize before you can be free, you are handing them the keys to your happiness. You are volunteering to be a prisoner of their conscience. You are saying, my peace depends on your behavior. And since you cannot control their behavior, you have sentenced yourself to life imprisonment. You have to take the keys back. You have to realize that your freedom is an inside job. You can free yourself right now without them ever knowing, without them ever saying a word. Let's go deeper into the spiritual mechanics. When we hate someone or when we resent someone, we create an energetic cord that binds us to them. It is a thick, invisible cable connecting your solar plexus to theirs. Through this cable, we feed them our energy. We give them our power. Every time you think about them, you send them a little packet of your life force. Every time you tell the story of what they did to you, you are donating your vitality to them. You are keeping them alive in your field. You are haunting yourself with their ghost. Forgiveness is the pair of scissors that cuts that cord. It is the act of unplugging. It says, I am taking my energy back. I am taking my power back. You no longer have access to my mind. You no longer have a seat at my table. When you forgive, you do not necessarily become friends. You do not necessarily reconcile. You become indifferent. And indifference is the opposite of love, not hate. Hate is just love turned inside out. It is still obsession. It is still attachment. Indifference is freedom. When you can think of their name and feel nothing. No spike in heart rate, no heat, just a neutral acknowledgement of a fact like noticing a rock on the side of the road. That is when you know you have forgiven. That is the victory. But how do we do it? How do we forgive the unforgivable? We have to shift our perspective on the villain. We have to deconstruct the monster. We tend to view the people who hurt us as powerful, calculated, evil masterminds who woke up one morning deciding to destroy us. But usually that is not the truth. The truth is often more pathetic and more tragic. Most people who hurt others are operating out of their own deep unconsciousness. They are acting out of their own unhealed trauma. They are projecting their own self-hatred onto us. They are sleepwalking. There is a saying, hurt people hurt people. It's a cliche because it's true. But let's go deeper. Confused people confuse people. Lost people lose people. When you look at the person who betrayed you, try to look past the action and see the wound. See the scared child inside them. See the confusion. See the limitations of their consciousness. They couldn't love you better because they don't know how to love themselves. They couldn't be honest with you because they lie to themselves every day. They tried to give you water from an empty cup. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate them. It doesn't mean what they did was okay. It simply means you understand the mechanics of the crash. Think of the empty boat story from Zen philosophy. If you are rowing a boat across a foggy lake and another boat crashes into you, you scream, "Watch where you're going, you idiot." You are angry, you feel attacked, you feel disrespected. But then the fog clears and you see that the other boat is empty. It drifted into you. It wasn't personal. It was just physics. Suddenly the anger vanishes. You can't be mad at an empty boat. The people who hurt us are often empty boats. They are not steering. They are being driven by the winds of their conditioning, their past, their fears, their addictions. They crashed into us not because they hate us, but because they are asleep at the wheel. When you see them as empty boats, the personalization of the pain drops away. It wasn't about you. You were just in the path of their storm. We also need to talk about the hardest person to forgive ourselves. Often our anger at others is a mask for our anger at ourselves. We are angry that we stayed too long. We are angry that we ignored the red flags. We are angry that we gave our power away. We are angry that we were vulnerable. We look back and think, I was so stupid, I should have known better. We have to forgive the version of ourselves that got hurt. We have to have compassion for our own innocence. Imagine that past version of you, the one who was in love, the one who was trusting, the one who was trying their best with the information they had at the time. Would you scream at a child for being tricked by an adult? No. You would hold them. You would say, I'm sorry that happened to you. Hold that past version of yourself. Say, I forgive you. You were looking for love. You were looking for connection. That is not a crime. You survived. And now we know better. Now we are wiser. Self-forgiveness is the foundation. You cannot release the other person until you release yourself from the shame of being a victim. And we must confront the identity of the victim. This is uncomfortable, but we must be honest. Sometimes we hold on to our pain because it gives us an identity. It gives us a story. It gives us sympathy. I am the one who was betrayed. I am the one who had a terrible childhood. If we let go of the story, who are we? We are afraid of the vacuum. We are afraid that without our grievances we will be boring. We are afraid that without our anger we will be vulnerable again. But the victim identity is a heavy coat. It keeps you warm, but it prevents you from moving. It prevents you from growing. You have to be willing to drop the story to claim your life. You have to be willing to be the one who healed rather than the one who was hurt. Let's address the fear of forgetting. We think, if I forgive, I will forget and then I will get hurt again. I need to stay angry to stay alert. No, forgiveness is not amnesia. You can remember that the fire burns without keeping your hand in the flame. You can remember the lesson without carrying the luggage. In fact, when you forgive, you see the past more clearly. When you remove the red filter of rage, you can see the situation objectively. You can see the patterns. You can see exactly why it happened. Anger makes us blind. Peace makes us wise. If you want to ensure you never get hurt like that again, forgive, because a healed heart has better intuition than a wounded one. A wounded heart sees threats everywhere. A healed heart sees truth. Forgiveness also allows us to set true boundaries. When we are angry, our boundaries are like electric fences, reactive, spiky, and dangerous. We shut people out completely or we explode. When we forgive, our boundaries become like firm walls with gates. We decide who comes in and who stays out calmly and clearly. You can forgive someone and still have a restraining order against them. You can forgive a parent and still choose not to spend Christmas with them. You can forgive an ex and still block their number. Forgiveness is an internal state of grace. Boundaries are an external state of action. You need both to be safe. We are holding on to these heavy rocks and we are trying to swim. We are trying to build new relationships, start new careers, find new joy, but we are dragged down by the weight of the past. Imagine you are hiking up a beautiful mountain. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, but you are carrying a backpack filled with rotting garbage. The smell is awful. The weight is breaking your back. Flies are buzzing around you and you look at the other hikers and you scream, Look at this garbage, look what they did to me, smell this, isn't it terrible? And the other hikers look at you with pity. They say, why don't you just put it down? And you say, I can't, it's mine, I have to carry it to prove how much I suffered. I have to carry it until the person who gave it to me comes back to take it. Does that make sense? They are not coming back to take it. They dumped it on you and walked away. Put the backpack down. Just unclench your hands. Let the straps slide off your shoulders. Walk away from it. Leave it on the side of the trail. Let nature decompose it. You don't need to analyze the garbage. You don't need to sort it. You just need to leave it. This is a process. It is not a one-time event. Forgiveness is like peeling an onion. You forgive them today, and then next Tuesday you hear a song or smell a perfume or see someone who looks like them and the anger comes back. That's okay. Don't judge yourself. Just say, here is another layer, and forgive them again and again and again. Forgiveness is a muscle. You have to exercise it. Until one day you realize you haven't thought about them in a month. Until one day you hear their name and it feels like a word in a foreign language. It has no emotional charge anymore. That is the victory. You deserve to be free. You deserve to have all of your energy available for your dreams, your passions, your loved ones. You deserve a mind that is a sanctuary, not a battlefield. You are not a victim. You are a survivor. You are a creator. The past is a ghost. It cannot touch you unless you invite it in. Close the door. Turn around. Look at the horizon. Look at the open road ahead of you. It is bright. It is clean. It is yours. Take a deep breath. Inhale the present moment. Exhale the past. Visualize the cord connecting you to them. Take a pair of golden scissors. Cut it. Watch the cord wither and fade. Watch them drift away like a balloon let loose into the sky. They are gone. You are here. You are safe. You are whole. You are free.